Hello, people. Welcome to the community of the Growth Mindset podcast. Guys, if you are a first time listener, don't forget to subscribe on whichever platform you're listening from so that you don't miss on more interesting episodes coming up in following weeks. And for our daily listeners, here we are again with a new episode where we will interview another interesting personality from a unique industry and understand how they were able to accomplish this great level of success. Remember, this is a podcast where we learn easy, practical methods and tips that we can implement in our daily lives from the very best and the most successful people known today. Because as we all know, success leaves clues. And we, the people having the growth mindset, will use these clues to create a better, more fulfilling, and a successful life. So, let the growth begin. Karthik, thank you so much for taking a time out and joining us on the Growth Mindset podcast. It is a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. So, Karthik, for people who might not have heard about you, this is the first time you're on the Growth Mindset podcast. So, would you like to tell people about you and a little about your story, your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a born in brought up Bombay kid. I've studied here. My undergrad was here. I worked here for 3.5 years selling domain IT infrastructure products for actually now one of two of India's most stalwart entrepreneurial combos, the Turakia brothers. So I was a part of one of their BUs and it was a fascinating experience. After that, I went to the US. I was there for 3 years. I did my MBA. I had two startups on the side. We got into the world's fifth best incubator at that point, which was Alpha Lab. We had a limited time run to raise an X amount of money to self-sponsor our visas. So we got about 220, 225. We needed another 100,000 USD to go. And the visas expired, so crash.
Oh,
But I was still privileged enough to have a platform here. So for the past almost 7 years now, I've been fully working at Noble Hygiene, which is a company that my father started. And we are the pioneers in India in the adult diaper category. And we are also India's largest private manufacturers of diaper products for adults, for babies, ancillary products, and the likes. So
yes.
it's been a fascinating experience for me personally. I've been invested in the company because I want to understand the scaling journey, right? So I got a
Hmm.
glimpse of the 0 to 100 CR sort of situation in the past. I really want to understand what the game is like when you go from 100 to 1,000, and
Correct.
beyond 1,500, then post IPO is another story as well. So
Exactly.
I'm invested in the Indian scaling story right now. It's been a delight to learn.
Perfect. So obviously, you as a second generation entrepreneur obviously would have a lot of responsibilities because your dad is at the moment running the company, but then you'll have to fill up the shoes and take the company to the next level. So there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, right? So what are some of the challenges that you think as second generation entrepreneurs basically face, and what can
Hmm.
people do for other entrepreneurs, second generation entrepreneurs? What can they do to make sure that they're taking the company to the next level?
Right. I think the more I got into business, I ended up realizing that the second generation entrepreneur is a much larger subset that what we normally think. I'm one of the few rare privileged ones which has an entire organization, to sort of help.
Yeah.
But anyone who is running a trading company to anyone who's running a multi-billion-dollar Indian multinational, second entrepreneurial journeys have a few similarities throughout. I think the most important thing that I think I can share for everyone is to be patient. um, there are tons of other specific things you need to do. There are way more things that you need to learn, but none of that's going to work out if you're going to be impatient about it, right? So from me to any other second generation entrepreneur, I think I'd say be patient, um, before you start adding value to the table.
Hmm.
Make very, very sure that you understand the nitty gritties of the business.
Correct. And since you said you've already had an experience of building two startups, right, from 0 to 100 crores, let's say. So, what has been your learning for startups, entrepreneur, or for business owners that are just starting their company? What can they do to make sure that their company is scaling and also making profit at the same time? Any practical tips you have? 2 or 3 tips.
One of the, it's a very interesting phrase that I used before, nitty gritties, right? The true fundamental nut and bolts of the businesses. I would say to keep a very close eye on those. Even at Noble Hygiene now, we're a 20-year-old organization, but bootstrapping is very firmly embedded into our DNA now. There are places to cut larger checks, but the value for those should be based on many smaller checks that you've cut in the past and you've learned
Correct.
from those, right? So I think one of the more important things that gets lost out now, and even now that we see, I'm in normal in the past at least the 6 to 9 months, there has been a lot more buzz on finding frugal startups or finding cash flow positive startups,
Correct.
and the trend is now come back to that. I think most of the market has woken up to the realization that not everyone has a unlimited or replenishing war chest. So, and even if you do, we've seen enough examples that it's no longer a guarantee of success.
True.
So you need to play smarter with what you have right now, and that's independent of whether you have $1 million in your account or whether you have a couple of billion, which a few startups do. So that's the question of scale is still always a compounding factor on all of these things. But I think most importantly, keep an eye on the nuts and bolts of the finances. Ensure that you're scrappy, if that's the word.
All right. And then obviously you as a second generation entrepreneur, what do you do to keep yourself focused, to keep yourself, aligned with the company's values or morals, and what do you do yourself to, you know, come to that level to make sure tomorrow when the time comes, you also can jump in and take lead of the company? What is your day schedule look like?
Correct. I think you're not you're not an ambassador for the company's culture. That's actually one of the responsibilities that you have as a second generation entrepreneur, that the culture stems from you.
Correct.
So it is what you do, irrelevant of how you do it. People have an eye on you, and you're supposed to dictate the tonality and the ethos of your organization, right? And we derive a lot from our managing director himself, and who is heavily involved in the business. So the bootstrapping fundamental, which you all live by, the hard work that we all live by, the straightforwardness and honesty. So all those things are now become a part of Noble Hygiene, and there's a chip on our shoulder to ensure that we carry it higher than the rest. I've been in Noble as a company has been in a couple of situations where we've actually scrapped more production material than other companies manufacture in months. But because the quality was off by a couple of percentage points, we felt it was not right this is not our brand, it's not going to satisfy my customer. So to then stand behind those hard calls, I've unfortunately been a couple of times in a situation where I've had to fire a individual overnight. And those are really hard conversations you need to have. So I think the temptation is very easy if you're from the proprietor side, that the tough stuff you can move to this side. You can tell people that 2 minute chup rahi ho yaar, meri baat sun lo bas. Or have the liberty of saying ki nahi, you're wrong, this is how we need to do. But all these examples are completely wrong, because the reverse is true, that the more invested you are in the business, you would never have an opportunity to tell anyone outrightly no. You always have to be humble enough to know that learnings can come from anywhere, and you can get a valid input from anywhere. You always have to be humble enough to know that you cannot simply expect to order individuals to do their tasks. You have to make them believe in the reason why it's important to them and to the brands, and thus to the organization, and why that needs to be done on time, right? So it's a fine balance. I think most of it again was down to my first fundamental principle is be patient, listen, but you have to be patient with most things. You have to have an open mind.
Interesting. And what do you think, Karthik, has been the success story behind Noble Hygiene? What do you think has made Noble Hygiene been in the industry for last 2 decades, and still, when it comes to adult diapers, you guys are at the top, right? So what do you think has made you guys stand out?
Is this all of the cool stuff in sales, distribution, and marketing? All of that's only being done for the past 1.5 years. Okay. The company has been built on a single foundational pillar of product quality. That's it. I think it's a privilege to know how far we've gotten on this one single factor, that the brand equity is built to a point where consumers will not buy any other product when they are convinced of ours. We've been in numerous situations where we get angry calls at head office of the customer complaint, and me and our managing director boss, again, we are deeply involved in all of these aspects still, because customers come first, and we take extraordinary efforts to do whatever we can from our side to make sure we make that happen, because there's so many facets. Every time you have to talk to a customer, there's a way you need to respond. Every time your product is made, there's a way. There's a quality adherence for your sales guys, there's a quality adherence for you. So that's truly the foundational reason why the company is still around now. That, and the fact that we are an honest business and we deal very upfront with all our stakeholders, whether they are our employees, some of which have been with us for 20 years, or whether they are distributors of ours, some of which have been around for 15, 18 years since we started our original business. So we have a reputation for being fair, and that's what gets you to the end. It's most of business, and the more you get at any level, it's a people's business. Any business is a people's. Yeah. So you have to know and be fair with people, and you have to. There's a fundamental rule of marketing, right? That no amount of marketing can sell a bad product. So the first step is to have an outstanding product. Then the rest, people are happy to do the rest.
True. I love the fact that you guys have focused primarily on the quality, because that shows the credibility and of the company, where they are really focused about, right? And you standing for something which you don't compromise on shows that also when the time are tough, you can make that hard decisions, saying this is what our core belief system is, and we're not going to divert away from that. So having that first thing in place, which is like a very important factor that even I personally recommend to all the entrepreneurs that I talk to, and what you said is just the same thing, right? And this is very important. So all the entrepreneurs listening, I would say, guys, take notes, because it's very important. End of the day, it'll all boil down to this, because no matter how much profits you're making, there will come instances where a decision can actually change or make the company. So be prepared for that. Now, one thing, Karthik, that has been got really some good attention, some vibe, which personally I like that what you've done, is the launch of the new product Rio Pads, which has been in the news lately as well, which normally has this, these pads have, this is basically for women, right, on menstruation.
For women who suffer from heavy flow.
Exactly, for heavy flow. And you guys have actually shown the color red rather than showing blue or some other color, which got a lot of attention from people. But I'm really curious to know, how did you get this idea? And then I know there was a lot of back and forth issues that you guys had to go through, but end of the day, you guys stood strong and won out of this. So I want to understand the story as to how did it all this begin.
So, as I think with most interesting stories, it started very close to me from my own wife. I've been with her now this is our 16th year together. So she's my first girlfriend, and I didn't know she would be my last.
Wow.
But we've been together for that long, and she suffered from PCOD and she suffered from hypothyroidism for quite some time. And I was never sensitive to the quantum of the issue, even though it happened in front of me for quite some time. But eventually what happened was one, as they say, evening when I was just on my way back from the factory, and I met her outside straight for dinner. And I didn't have my normal carry bag, and I always carry a few sanitary napkins, spare ones, with me. So that's a practice, by the way, # I recommend to every man out there, right? At the very least, even if you don't want to have the conversation and everything, just at least carry spares with you, and tell the significant ladies in your life ki bhai extra hai ever if you run out emergency.
Nice.
So, but in any case, I didn't have my normal bag. So, but because I was coming back from the factory, we had another product of ours, which is a maternity pad, and that's used for post-birth. And it's a very heavy, thick pad. So I said, now where am I going to go out and find a chemist, etc.? Please just use this now for once. We're going to be home in a couple of hours. So she used it, and the next day she came and she smacked me and she said, "You've known me for 12 years, and this is the first time you're going to giving this to me." I'm like, okay. And the reason I even had it with me, I had a few packs, was because I was bringing them back from my mom, who was going through menopause at the time. And she realized that no other pad in the market was doing well, but she's obviously equated with the business. She said, "Get me those maternity ones. Those are the only ones which is going to work." And then I realized that as an absorption expert, right, because we've been making baby diapers and adult diapers for all these years, which, as our boss likes to say, is at its price point, at baby diapers, it's the most technologically complex product that exists, right? And I can explain why later, but that's the case. For doing all of this and being absorption experts, in my own home, there are two women who are suffering so deeply from an issue and don't have a ready solution in the market. And that's what really sparked off the light at the first time. So we were tracking the sanitary napkin market in any case, but this we finally found was a need strong enough to go attack. Then 3 rounds of consumer research later, we spoke to doctors, we spoke to end consumers. We did 5 trial runs of our actual till we arrived at our actual finished products. We did pre-placement interviews, post-placement interviews, the whole thing, whole shebang. And at the end of it, then we were very happy with the commercial and the articulation of it. Until this point, there was no discussion of red or blue.
Okay.
Everyone was going ahead with the spirit of honesty and authenticity.
Correct.
Right? I told you, that's the ethos of the company. We were just overjoyed to have found this one need, which is being sharply felt. We're like, wow, yaar, ladies ke liye solution nahi hai. And some of the stories that even came out in research, right? I mean, if I can tell you about just one, and it was in an urban, affluent household, and second generation entrepreneur, much like myself. And his wife was the one in the trial, and she was at the post interview, she was overjoyed with the product, and she's like, wow, and it's worked really well, and I'm so happy, and at least I don't have to clean 8 to 10 pads anymore every day. And both of my respondents were ladies, and they were quiet as well, and they said, what do you mean cleaning pads? You throw those away. So she said, no, in our house it's not allowed to throw the soiled ones away. So I have to collect 8 to 10 of the used ones throughout the course of the day. I wash them before my shower. I leave them in the bathroom to dry. And after I come back from work, as I've collected the ones which I'm bleeding today, then you take these dried, washed sanitary napkins and I throw them.
Wow.
This is in an urban, affluent household.
Crazy.
Right? And I have 30 other stories, all of which from different situations and different socioeconomic strata spread across the country, which we encounter. And the extent of this problem is completely unaddressed. So we were enthused just with an honest representation of what a men's should be, saying that you're talking about heavy flow. The women are going through so much. They're using multiple pads, 4 pads at the same time. There are other women using safety pins in their panties just to keep those in place. There are women taking compulsory offs on their first day because there's no way they can commute. Jaane ki ichha to hai, but I can't survive in that train journey of the taxi journey. Because I have stained once and I've been through that embarrassing experience and I don't want to do that again. And at the end of it, everything's about blood. So how can you have a commercial? How can you address the issue if you don't show what blood? It's heavy flow. Heavy flow of what? Heavy flow of blood.
True.
So till this point, and the script is locked in, and we are very happy with how we are going. And even using Radhika Apte wasn't even a conversation here. Till now, there was no conversation of red versus blue.
Okay.
Then we decided, all right, let's talk to Miss Apte because, she'd be the perfect tonality for the message through.
Yeah.
Right? So she is known for unconventional approaches and she's known for being honest. And we wanted someone honest. And at that point, we said, okay, brilliant. If she comes on board, she's the only one we were going to do this with. If awesome, if not, then we're out. But thankfully, she agreed. And then by the time we approached the production house and then was the first time I think someone from the creative agency even asked, saying, ye hum log ready kar rahe, right? And that was at the end of a meeting when they were walking out. And I just looked back, I said, yeah, obviously, what, ab tak to kya baat chal raha hai? Ye aisi sachai dikha rahe bhai.
Sahi hai.
Cool. And the rest, as is.
Then
after that point, obviously there were complaints and stuff,
I mean, that was crazy, right? Like, I personally agree with what you've just said with regards to being honest and what the situation is. You can't put those things under the blanket, right, under the table and try to say that it does not exist. That is not what it is until unless you go ahead and address those things. That is a real challenge that every woman is facing out there, especially women with heavy flow. And we as men, I think it is our responsibility to make sure that we at least sympathize to what they are feeling, become more empathetic and support them in situations like this, wherein, they know that, okay, we have maybe a brother or my husband is, at least they have got my back, right? And this is very important. And
correct. And if I may, just a message to all the men who are listening, I'm sure at least half of you right now must have put your head over here and saying, hey, matlab, kare bhi to theek hai na, jante hum, what more can we talk about? You know what this is. But don't joke about it, If again, like if you can't carry around, if you must carry around spares, and stop joking about it. That's, I would say, one of the strongest things you can do. Don't say are you on your days, don't say arey lagta hai kuch ho raha hai, and all these. Don't trivialize the situation, you know.
Yeah.
There's already enough that women go through. There is already enough that their body is putting them through.
True.
There is no need for you to crack a smart ass comment. And
True.
there is no original joke which is coming out in this point. Believe me, gentlemen, everyone has been cracked, and I've heard half of them throughout the courses of our research. There's no need for you to be smart, you know. Just be patient. Again, most of life is just being patient and just being listening and just
True.
listening.
True. And again, like the pain they go through, women every month they have to go through the same thing. Imagine the kind of pain, because I know for a fact if I get a headache or stomach pain, I can't do anything, right? I'll be sitting at home. I'll put a leave. I'll stop recording
Right.
my podcast sessions. Now imagine if you knew every single month you have to go to that for at least 5 or 7 days, especially if it's 7 days, since heavy flows basically last for 7 days normally. So which is just crazy in itself. Imagine you can't even get up, and then you have your family members who may be looking at you with some weird looks. I mean, there's nothing to
Right.
be this is not something which is a shameful act. This is a natural thing that all of us have to agree upon and then support our women. So this is something which I also want to tell to my listeners, that let us come forward and support the women that need us, because they've been supporting us their entire lives. They've made a lot of sacrifices. So this is the
100%.
least we can do. So let
Right.
us come forward and do that. Now, coming back to you, Karthik. Now, when you came out with the Rio pad and you said, okay, we'll use the color red, there were a lot of setbacks that you guys got, right? A lot of comments saying you cannot use this. This is going against the norm. You're going against the society. Things of this sort. Can you tell us, like, how did this happen? Like, I'm sure you did not even expect this would happen, right? Not up to such a great extent where people will come rebuttal saying, you can't do this. Share some experience so that people can understand how this topic is treated as a taboo in India.
Right. No, we expected everything. So
Oh, okay. That's
it was
interesting.
not a surprise. We knew complaints would come in because it's a dramatic step, right? When one of the lines that I used in the final presentation round 2 with the judge was, I said, and we were lucky to get a great judge, and he was understanding of the cause. So what actually happened was, there's a neutral agency body out there. It's called ASCI, which stands for Advertising Standards Council of India, and they have jurisdiction over every product and service advertisement in the country, whether that's on TV or radio or digital or however the case, right? Now, obviously, when our ad first came on air, it's, even to the most liberal mindset, it's a bit jarring to see, right? And the line that I used at the very end, one of my penultimate lines was, "Sir, even in a quiet room, a pin drop is like a gunshot." So if it's the first time we are going to broach this conversation on TV,
correct,
obviously people are going to feel awkward about it,
True.
But I think the point is, we have to wake up and realize that, okay, there should not be anything awkward about this, and move on. So naturally, at the first step, the ASCII body got a lot of written complaints against us and the advertising, saying that it should be banned, it should be taken off the air, that it's gross and vulgar. As a first step, there is an internal committee called the CCC, the Consumer Complaints Council, and they deliberated amongst them. And we had to send in our written response, and we could present it, and we had a couple of calls with them. After a couple of weeks, we found out that our case was turned down, and the complaints were upheld. And the CCC committee also then found the ad to be vulgar and gross, and had the potential to cause grave and widespread harm and unrest. So at that point, the ASCII's rules itself, because it's a neutral body, right? So much like any other agency, well-functioning organization, it had rules for an independent review, which is an expensive proposition. But at that point, we said, we are full into this already. Let's go for a review. No matter what happens, whether we were taking it to the courts or not, I think at the end of it, when I was going to tell the story, I wanted to make sure that we can say we did whatever was possible.
Correct.
To the fullest extent of our ability. So he said, if there is a review possible, let's go for the review. So we had an independent review, which is headed by a retired High Court judge. And to him, we had to present the entire case. And he went through the complaints as well. He went through the CCC's recommendations as well. And he heard our case out. And we had 3 major points at the end of it, and 3 points which the consumers also had a major issue with. It's because first, naturally, everyone said gross. खून ऐसे नहीं दिखा सकते, it should not be on primetime TV, and ban this ad. Second is women as well who were saying that how is this allowed on primetime TV? I am seeing this with my entire family. So I can't discuss it with the male members. I can't explain this to my children. So please take this off. And the third subset was just generally women and other men getting embarrassed about how can you breach this conversation in public, right? They said how one woman who wrote into the original complaints, her line was that women don't even discuss our lingerie size in public, and you want us to discuss about this and the blood, and please take this off air, right? So for all three buckets, we had one response each amongst the entire presentation to the judge, which was a good 45-minute conversation. And we said, listen, sir, about children, right? Unfortunately, we can't do anything about it. They are exposed to far many more worse things. And unfortunately, the case in India is that over 80% of girls approach the age of menarche completely unprepared. That means when the first period happens, they have no concept about it. Yes. Spoken to them about it. Correct. So is that not a problem that you should address? So the complainants in the letters are saying my son is 8 years or my daughter's 10 years. And how can I explain this to them? When do you think is the right time to do so? Right?
True.
Now, we know that menstruation onset is somewhere around 10 or 11 years of age. So at some point, you need to have a conversation with the girls and with the boys about this. So that is point number one, saying we are not prompting this conversation. The only thing we are doing is showing an honest representation.
Yes.
So coming to the honest representation, which is the blood and the red and everything. Our point to that was, sir, unfortunately or fortunately, again, a sanitary napkin is the only product in the world which can show the usage of blood in a normal situation. You don't have ads for gauzes, right? You're not showing stabbings on TV and, okay, I'm going to plug this and there's a lot of blood. There is no blood in any kind of product interaction with your body except for menses. Thus, menses should be the exception to the norm. That if anything, you don't want to show blood, but in a menstrual sanitary product ad, blood should be allowed to be shown. So that was the second argument. And to the third, we said, sir, the government itself in its own menstrual hygiene manual has pointed out that such deep, entrenched, traditional thought processes still remain in the country. I just told you about that example from an urban household, right? So there are so many more stories spread across the country, and it's going to require mass conversation to really, try to even start to erode this stigma, which has been around for centuries at this point.
True.
Correct?
True.
So how are you going to have a mass conversation? No matter how many red dot challenges you have on Instagram, that's a bubble. You need to go on TV. TV is the masses. So on those three pillars of our argument, the judge was sympathetic, and he said that if every woman goes through this and this is a normal biological reality, then there should be no shame in talking about it. So the ad can be allowed air as is. We had to make a few minor modifications which didn't really impact the messaging or the start or anything at all. So that's how then it transpired. It took a couple of months, but we were very glad to have achieved this.
That is wonderful. This is so inspiring because, one of the things that which is strange and weird at the same time is, women itself who go through the same thing, they don't want to talk about it when the time comes. So I want to tell you, this is natural. You have to come forward. You have to talk, because if you don't educate them now, the same thing is going to continue for another 100 years. So now is the time for us to change, take an impact, make an impact to everybody else out there and educate our kids so that they can also sympathize with what is happening. So that as you said, right, women, basically girls who are having this for the first time, they don't have any idea as to what is happening, right? At least prepare themselves for, so that they understand that this is what basically happens. And we as men also support this. And there's nothing as shameful, because I personally don't look at it that way. I'm sure a lot of men out there don't look at it like that. But yeah, there may be a few, but now is the time to, change that norm. Change is inevitable. It is going to come either today or tomorrow, for sure. Why not today? Let us start it from today. Karthik, now I want to ask you something about yourself. I've heard that you are an avid reader, right? You read a lot of books. So who are your favorite authors? Which are your favorite books?
My preferred section to dive in is high fantasy fiction. So I really enjoy elaborate worlds getting to know different stories, different backgrounds.
Uh-huh.
So I really enjoy that side of things. One of my favorite authors is Stephen King, a lot of whose works are being serialized now in movies and
Movies,
in
yeah.
other series, etc. So I read his first book when I was in, I think, in fifth grade or fourth grade,
Oh, wow.
and from that point on, I'm like, wow, this is what reading can be.
Hmm.
Another one is Brandon Sanderson, who writes these high fantasy fiction, phenomenal books. So
Okay.
anyone, I would suggest the Mistborn trilogy because it's an easy read, not very many characters, not complex. So it's a good introduction for people. But
Hmm.
he's a fascinating writer, and he's in the middle of his magnum opus of 10 books right now.
Oh, wow.
Um, the book number 4, I think, is coming out in November.
Hmm.
So I've already it's pre-ordered on Kindle and flagged and set in the calendar. And
Nice, nice, nice. That's
right,
good to know because I personally I'm an avid reader. I love more. I'm on the more lines of reading non-fictional books wherein that's more
right.
self-help kind of stuff. I'm into that. So, but it's good to meet people who have this habit of uh reading books because it says a lot about because as you said, right, reading there's a science behind reading. If you're reading something, it actually helps you grow your mindset. It helps you concentrate better. It makes you more conscious of things. So which is a very good habit, and this is something that I recommend to all my listeners as well. Saying take some time out, read something. It could be fictional, non-fictional, but make sure you develop this habit of reading.
Anything, man. Like to people in my teams, I have recommended graphic novels. I'm
Correct.
like, comic hai to comic hai, but start somewhere.
Exactly.
Get because even professionally, whenever you're supposed to give feedback to individuals and how people's careers are supposed to progress, the most fundamental thing is your ability to communicate, both
True.
written and spoken, right? So
Yeah.
most people think, oh, how do I improve my vocabulary? Saying, bruv, but you're not going to sit down and do
Exactly.
all these cards and you're going to memorize words. 3 months
True.
later, you're not going to remember to use the word serendipity in the right context.
Exactly.
You need to breathe it. And if
True.
for that,
True.
you need to read. And
Exactly.
it may be anything. So there's some like brilliant mangas and other illustrated color graphic novels which are available online. Even if you don't go there, go like Batman or something. But start.
Start.
The
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
is to start.
True.
I'm a huge fan of the Seinfeld method, what he says,
Uh-huh.
irregularity. So
Hmm.
what I'm
Tell
sure you know of this.
no, tell us about it. I want my listeners to know about this.
This is called the Seinfeld technique, and it's very simple and straightforward actually. Because one day in a stand-up comedy bar, after his show, he was approached by a comedian and saying, "Sir, you're awesome, and I love your work. And how can I write as well as you?" So he said, "Do this. Go get a giant calendar and put it on your wall." And he said, "Okay, okay." He's like, after that, don't do anything. Write the day you feel like writing.
Hmm.
This guy's like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, okay, once you're done writing, no matter if it's that one page also, go put a cross on that calendar that you wrote on that day. Like, cool. Like, now your only goal in life is to not break that cross streak.
Hmm.
So you have to write every day. Like, you
True.
write 2 words, you write 20 pages. Like, but
Hmm.
you write every day.
Hmm.
And that's how you get better with most things. With health, whether that's the case, whether that's with reading, whether that's picking up a new skill, everything. I feel really bad, man. I understood the impact of compound interest very
Oh
late
yeah.
in my life.
Yeah.
Someone, if I would have understood the importance of this when I was in my 20s, I think I'd be very different individual. But well, better late than never.
Yes, exactly. And this is very important, right? At least reading for 5 minutes can, as you said, compound effect. Once you start reading it, then you not even realize that 5 minutes will turn after 10 or 15 days, it'll turn into 15 minutes. And then after a few months,
Correct.
it'll be like an hour. That's how I started reading. And now when I sit for like 1 hour, 2 hours straight and I'm just totally gone into the book, right? I'm totally
And,
sunk into the book. So that's how it
yes.
happens. And it's amazing if you get develop that habit.
Yeah, and people, I think where they go wrong is, like I would wish more people read. So I keep telling a lot of this out.
Hmm.
Don't. It's not a. You don't treat it like a chore. That's the problem, right? For every person, there must be something you must be interested in.
Exactly.
Right? There is so
Exactly.
much in the world. Just in the past, like 12 hours, I have read stuff about how algae is going to be the next superfood who's going to carry us into the next century. I have
Wow.
read about how now wood is being grown in curved manners and infinite beams are being used to create buildings. I have
Interesting.
read about how the one of the how hornets and bees have have like this Tom and Jerry rivalry. There's so much in the world.
Exactly.
There must be something which you like to read. Start. That's the point. That's the
True.
point. Just start.
Yeah, awesome. Now there are two questions that I want to ask. The last two questions before we end the conversation and the interview. The first one being, you understand the importance of having the growth mindset, right? Wherein you are more interesting to, more open to learning, growing. What according to you people can do to develop the growth mindset? Any one or two tips from you?
Kaizen is the most important thing. So small steps every day.
Mm.
You know, which is what the Seinfeld technique is at the end of it, which is what reading is at the end of it.
Yes.
You have to do something consistently, and you have to have your goal in mind, right? So I think a concrete example or a concrete learning which really helped me, if I can share that with people, right, is to start small, to start very small. So I heard this in one of Dr. Jordan Peterson's podcasts, right? And how his exact framing was that, and it helped me doing push-ups, saying the feeling of victory is what you need, right? So even if you need to do only 2 push-ups a day, but do those 2 for 3 days. Okay. And then, okay, I want to do 3. So do more for 3 days. That's it. You don't have to feel pathetic about the fact that I did only 3 push-ups. The point is you did something, right?
Exactly.
And that is what I think is the most important thing in life. Everyone, I've seen this in my own organization with some very talented people, that you get stuck on new learnings because you set a very lofty goal for yourself, especially people who are very driven. Type A personalities always feel the same, that there's an overwhelming pressure that, I need to get this skill set as fast as possible in this time frame to deploy there. But breathe. It's gonna happen. You need to take smaller steps. That's the only way you're going to get anything concrete done. True. Because there's enough going on in life, man. Wake up to 2020.
Exactly. I want to add to that. That's a very great insight, because there's this saying in there is this teaching in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, wherein if you want to have a lasting change or you want to create a new habit, you gotta change your behavior, and one of the best ways to do that is to add those small steps. This basically is called as behavioral change in you, so that every day, just don't worry about it, as you just said, right? 2 push-ups for 90 days. If you can't do it, that's fine. Keep doing it, but there will come a point, after that will become your habit, and then that 2 will be turn into 20, 200 and whatnot. But that change needs to happen. That specific exercise has to come into your muscle memory. Once it sticks to your muscle memory is when it lasts in your body all the time, right?
Absolutely. And that's the compound part of it, which I understood too late, is that 2 is better than nothing. 2 for 90 days is better than 0 for 90.
Exactly.
When you're going to be thinking 1 quarter down the line, you'll be like, "Do to kiya yaar, I'm so much better off. Imagine if I didn't do anything."
Correct. Exactly.
It's so important to start.
And this one person, I think you have heard of him, Tony Robbins, right? So he says something around the same lines. He says, people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years.
Correct.
Imagine, like, we put so much pressure on ourselves that we need to accomplish that in 1 year, and then when we don't hit those goals and dreams, we push ourselves back. But then if you had imagine 10 years, imagine what all we could achieve, and then that is why we shall sell ourselves short. Perfect. One last question, Karthik, before I let you go. I want you to give one advice, one tip that you've learned yourself, right? Anything, it could be personal, professional, anything that could help people lead a successful and a fulfilling life wherein they feel happy. Anything that you've learned over the years, any one specific tip?
I can tell you a very real one. Get a good CA. Most important for professionals, even if you have salaries, or for business owners, especially if you're a new startup, you don't sometimes have a complete understanding of how to file away your costs, how to take advantage of debt structures, how to ensure that you're compliant. Everyone's going to tell you that meditate, it's very important. Fitness, is important.
True.
You're drinking too much soda or eating too much chocolate in your life. You don't need other great people to come and tell you this. True. But get a good CA, man. If most people don't do that, and I think professional advice in terms of your finances, whether that's corporate or personal, is extremely important. and you have to have your eye on the money. Unfortunately, we live in a world where money is fuel, right?
Correct.
Whatever you want to do, the more money you have, the faster and better
Exactly.
you can do it.
Very
That's
true.
it. Now it's a reflection of how you are as a person. If you're
True.
a very good person, like Bill Gates is, he's utilizing his reserves to go and help the planet.
Yes.
And there are numerous other examples of people who have resources but are not doing anything with it.
Very true.
Correct?
Very true.
So whatever you have, money is your fuel. So learn to manage and protect your money. Get a good CA. I think that's a practical tip for everyone.
I love this advice because this is the first time somebody has given me this advice. Somebody has shared this advice on the podcast, because I've had a lot of leaders.
I'm glad.
Yeah, I've had a lot of leaders who have come on to the podcast, and they've given a lot of various advice, practical tips that can help people lead a successful and a better life. It involves meditation. It knows a lot of things. But this is something which I think is very, very crucial as well. Like when you have, because see, money, as you said, money is fuel at the current scenario, looking at how the world is. You can use the money. Money is not something which is bad. I mean, if you have a lot of money, it doesn't mean you become egoistic. No, it's all up to you. You can use the power.
Right.
You can use that for the same good thing, like how Bill Gates is using, right? But
Right.
having your eye on the money is also very important. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Karthik, for joining in and sharing all your learning experiences and sharing the story, and especially talking about something which really matters today, which is about menstruation. And because this is very important, you took the first step, and trying to spread awareness. That's when I also wanted to make sure that I contribute to this part, because this is very important as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we're very proud that we were by luck or chance and effort, I think we were the first ones to change this paradigm of sanitary advertising. And we hope everyone follows suit, because whether we are around as a brand in the next 5-10 years or not, I think the conversation that we've started should definitely be around.
True.
And I hope it does, and we'll continue to keep contributing in all our different ways.
Awesome. And thank you so much for all the services that you provide, again, standing up for what you believe in.
Oh man, it's a true privilege. It's a humbling experience.
This brings us to the end of this episode, and hope you at least had one takeaway from this interview. If you have any questions or want to talk to me personally, you can find me at www.silawatirshad.com. See you soon.